Hello and welcome back to JLXP, post week 8 of LCS and LEC. It has definitely been a bit of a journey to get here. Both LEC and LCS completed their remote broadcasts. For me, it's currently 6:21 p.m. on the Sunday. I cast all 5 games with Captain Flowers, which was awesome. It was like a throwback to the good old days of bedroom casting, but with way more production value. The overall broadcast production team, I feel like, moved mountains to set up a fully remote broadcast, not only between teams, but also between casters and a State Farm analyst desk. And for this episode, we're going to talk about the big beats of what happened in the LCS and also discuss Caps' re-picking up of mages for G2 over in the LEC. My guest today is pr0lly of State Farm analyst desk online fame. How you doing today?
Yep, that is my current working title and my rise to fame.
Analyst pr0lly, not world semifinalist H2K coach from the episode we did a while ago.
No,
How was
I don't know who that guy is.
How was remote broadcasting for you?
It was awesome. At first I was really anxious. Not to throw shade or anything, but like LEC had a lot of issues and that made me worried. And then at first I thought like I'm going to have to broadcast on OBS and I'm going to have to do like all this stuff that I'm not good at. But the NA production team made it really easy. I downloaded like 2 pieces of software. And then they literally handled everything else, like making it look good and telling me where to put this and that. So I didn't have to do any work. They just hard carried me through it. So this was really, really simple transition that I was really scared for a while, but they made it really nice.
Yeah, and to give people a little bit of an idea of kind of what had to happen, like for me and Flowers, we were getting sent the observer feed. We were talking to each other on one program, but then also they made it so we were perfectly synced up with the game when it went out to air. Because what happens a lot of times, if you're getting sent a feed and you're trying to cast over it and then that feed is then going out, since everything is done, no one is in the studio, right? This is a 100% remote broadcast. I was just very impressed at how smooth the casting was and how synced Flowers and I were able to be from not being together in the same room. So I was really happy with how I felt broadcasting it. Like, I feel like we had a week of LCS, even though everything else around us has been so different. This was kind of a return to normalcy, and it's cool because now we can just do this podcast just like it was another week of LCS and talk about the teams.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we did this. It was pretty similar, but yeah, everything is a lot easier than I guess I thought. Maybe I was just anxious to be anxious.
Yeah,
but
it was easy for us. I feel like
for us.
The tech solution.
Oh yeah, someone lost hair and like they're graying out now because of this week, but we're sitting pretty.
Yeah, so this week, the big stories that we're going to go down the line with, I want to start with C9 because they are the best team, and I think they deserve to go first. They're 15-1, actually, even though they lost a week 7 game to TSM. And this week, yes, they went 2-0, but their game against 100 Thieves was a little bit touch and go. And during the COG game, Flowers and I kind of got into this groove of, man, COG, look at the way Pobelt is playing Rumble, look at the way Ruin's playing Jace, he's really starting to pop off, and they lost. And it's over. Like, it just ended with a snap. Are you at all concerned about C9 now, even though they didn't lose?
Only because they've shown so much consistency, I'm not worried. But watching these 2 games in isolation are worrisome. If there weren't all these circumstances happening, right? If they weren't, 13-1 coming into this week, and if it wasn't like purely online competition, which I'm sure drastically changes how the teams play.
Well, yeah, you were talking to me about this a little bit earlier. You were a coach last split, and you wanted to talk about how are teams practicing, VOD reviewing, figuring out next things to play, because that is new for all these people to not be doing it in their training facility and in person. How do you feel like that is going for these teams?
Hold on. Can we talk about C9 first?
Yeah.
Because they are first. We'll give them first.
Yeah, okay.
But I do want to hit that topic, though, because, I think it's probably been really crazy, and I'm curious who's been doing it best. But yeah, you're asking like how C9 looked in these 2 wins, and
Yeah.
I would say this was drastically worse performances from them compared to the last 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Um, the most suspect to me was Blabber. I know I saw a lot of love he was getting, but personally, I thought like he was a big reason why you mentioned that 100 Thieves game was really kind of back and forth. Yeah, C9 grew this 4K lead at 15 minutes that they do normally, and 10 minutes later, it's still 4K gold. Like the gold really did not grow because they were getting picked and they weren't really rotating properly. So
Yeah.
these are usually the things I can't criticize C9 about ever. I'm never like, wow, look, that was really sloppy engage or really bad rotation here. It's like, no, they rotate and find a fight and they fight. But in this game, I noticed that Blabber's like too fast, too slow, in weird places at the time, like sometimes just mispositioning. So the Saturday game got me a little worried. And then the Sunday game, I think that they were just overhyped about Bork. That's my assumption because that game was also, I think CLG could have won if it went like 10 more minutes or something.
Yeah.
Because like, yeah, they're just, the C9 fight that they do is, yeah, they pull someone to an area, then they engage and fight. But C9 was actually like pulling them to Dragon, and then they had this weird like standoff. And I see that with other teams, but I've never seen C9 have this weird standoff where Drake is aggroed, and then they're here and the other team's here, and then they can't engage, so they just end up walking away and they lose to Drake.
So the Bork obsession is funny because it really was, let's rush Bork on Aurelia, let's rush Bork on Yasuo, and let's go. What I will say is I think it's hard to take this week critically, even if it feels like there are some things that don't feel right, because C9's locked first. You know what I mean? So they weren't troll picking, but it definitely felt like they were looser. Kalista top, Yasuo mid, Aurelia Bork rush, Bard support, which like was good and dominant, but still like they're playing loose. So I did this with Mark when TL did the 2 a week with tactical, and the question is like, is this something, nothing, or everything? Is C9 not looking like they did mid-split this week? Something, nothing, or everything in terms of what the future means for C9?
I'm going to go ahead and say nothing.
I think it's nothing too. So like we've kind of nitpicked these things, but I think with the whole environment around them being just eons ahead of everyone else in the standings, and the fact that we're in this whole new scenario, like I actually give them a complete pass. I think this is nothing.
Well, so the Kalista top, I was watching and I thought Licorice actually was very practiced on the champion. Maybe he's just good at the game. Who knew? But he looks very practiced, so that pick seemed very fine. But when they did like this like double Bork thing, like they were fighting things and dying, and I don't see them be wrong that often. You know, they're usually pretty right about their plays. But I noticed like, I'm seeing them like die randomly, like they can't get a lead and hold on to it. Like those are the things I was just like, what's happening? So yeah, I guess I'm contributing a lot of that to, how this whole like lockdown is going, and then how this practice is going, because practice has got to be whack recently.
We'll get to practice right after this question. What's your % chance that C9 wins the split? I have it at 65. I'm letting you cheat 65? A little bit. But that's because I assigned percentages to everyone else. My first percentage of C9 was like, 75 or 80. But then I want to give like 10% to TSM and like 5% to Team Liquid and like 7.5% to EG and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, my gut was going to say somewhere around like 75. Like, if I don't see a world where they ever get 3-0'd or 3-1'd. And I see small chances of them getting 3-2'd, but I wouldn't bet on it ever.
Yeah, well, in the best of 35, they're currently up 15-1 in the series. So, okay, moving on to the point about the teams all being remote, because it throws a total wrench into every team's practice. One of my favorite pictures of the weekend, 100 Thieves put this out on Twitter on Saturday, was them doing their pregame huddle with all webcams. They just kind of all put their arms wide and were essentially fake huddling. Quick flame to Papa Smithy. He was the only one without his webcam on. Like, come on, dude. As the GM, you got to participate in that or get a better webcam. But how do you feel like this is going as a previous coach? How would you deal with this unprecedented circumstance?
I mean, I bet this has got to be, every coach has to be pulling their hair out right now. So if people don't know, if you're coaching a squad, the hardest thing is when you do review and it lasts more than 5 minutes. Because
Mm-hmm.
after 5 minutes, that's when you can see players like slink into the couch. Like sometimes you'll see the, behind the scenes
Mm-hmm.
of like, like TSM or TL or something like that. And like the players are like, they're not asleep, but their posture is like liquid, like
Well,
amorphous.
scrim
Like
days
a,
are actually pretty grueling, especially now when they're
yeah,
doing
that's fair.
5 games in a row. Like you play a full competitive game, you immediately go into review, then maybe you have like 5 minutes and then you're into the next game. It's just like one after the other after the other.
Yeah.
So already you're struggling to get people's attention, but continue.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the intensity's up. So you're struggling to get their attention yeah, the longer the review goes, the like more, you know, mindless they just can't focus that long because they're just focusing for 45 minutes in a game. And then now transition to, I'm assuming they're also on lockdown and not having team practices with everyone in the same room.
Yeah.
And they're doing like online review maybe. And I could just see like I don't know, when you have a keyboard in front of you and you have a web browser, like, I mean, how quickly are you going to like just check Twitter or Reddit really fast or something like that?
Really quick.
So yeah, I see like the attention span of review or the effectiveness of review going down a lot. And then the fact that review itself between the players, like not coach to player, but player to player, you can't have there's no like body language when you communicate to your team when you're talking online. So you don't know like how upset they are or like how happy they are with stuff. Like it's really hard to get a read on certain situations. So the way that they communicate to each other and kind of like push each other in different ways, I feel like is also probably hindered a lot. So I think C9 has been they've been playing the best for this whole split. And I attribute a lot of that to how well they can practice together. And I think that's probably a big hit for them where they can't practice like they used to because the team environment is like an online team environment now.
I kind of agree. C9's been releasing some good content. I don't know if you saw, they had a video where they talked to I forget his title, but he's their performance guy. And he actually used to work with Navy SEALs. So he's very much about just like, hey, high performance is high performance no matter what field you're in. And he talked about how locked in all the C9 players were earlier on in the split. If they're going to do exercises at 9 a.m, everyone was there at 9 a.m. with their yoga mats ready to go. They'd woken up. It wasn't like they were just crawling out of bed and just like lackadaisically, I'm forced to be in this spot. They're all locked in. But now, they can't do that, right? Sure, they can maybe try and do it on a web conference call, but it's going to be a lot harder to have that type of feeling. So maybe, and we have no way of knowing, maybe it would hurt Cloud9 more because they were getting so much out of being in person and it's just more impossible now. More largely, though, I was talking about this last week, I think, where I wasn't sure which team this would benefit or which team would do best with this. Because I heard some people say the rookies, it's them. That'll help because it's like a scrim. It's online. I don't think it's like a scrim at all. I think it's like a really high pressure scrim. And I kind of thought that the experienced players would handle it better. This weekend, I feel like it was almost a little bit, it was too hard for me to find something constant to say, oh, definitely older players performed and younger players didn't. It was more just, oh yeah, EG played really well. I don't know if that's because they responded to the environment so well or if they just play better,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Easy to separate topic we can talk about more. But I mean, if I had to guess, I would say veteran players would play worse online because like,
why?
I think a lot of the veteran players like do well under pressure. Like they need it in a way, like it's fuel for them. And at the same time, if someone's like hindered by that pressure, now they get a little advantage over them. So I think overall, like a veteran player would just, be better in a, actual stage environment.
I think this was my theory that veteran players are better at dealing with pressure because they played in more unique environments. And I attributed this to a unique environment, not a familiar environment. So I would say the veteran player would be more capable of responding to the new environment of high pressure bedroom play, essentially, and a newer player wouldn't be. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So since they've been in more unique situations, they just have natural confidence because they've more knowledge.
It's like, oh yeah, I've been able to do it all.
That's fair.
But that was just
mine is just more of like, I know some of the lazy veteran players, like when playoffs come and some players that come out of the woodwork and start playing amazing
impact.
Like that's what I'm feeling is like, they're at home, so they're like, who cares? So
Right.
that's what I feel probably plagues some veterans, maybe not all. Um, but yeah, I mean, even prepping for stage, that's another really weird one, right? Like even like just the physical act of like going to LCS and then like sitting in your room and prepping, like now you roll out of bed and then
Yeah.
maybe do your
Like,
workout.
do I get the solo queue game in at the studio? Do I not have time?
Yeah.
When am I timing my meal? When am I getting my coffee? What am I eating? What kind of coffee am I having? Like all those things are disrupted. So it's really interesting. And
Yeah.
I know Travis said he got like 9 out of 10 teams accepted interviews. So I'm going to look forward to listening to that content. Hopefully he asks some of those questions to find out more about it. But on to EG, they're on a 5-game winning streak now.
Ooh, yeah.
They were 4-7, and now they're 9-7. And because of the deeply compressed schedule we have, or sorry, standings we have, they're tied for second with TSM and FlyQuest. Are they the second best team?
I think I would. Honestly, I'm kind of more comfortable with them being second best than TSM or FlyQuest right now. Every time I hype up TSM, something goes wrong, and today was one of them as well. Where I'm like, I really need to see consistency in this. Some of it's from draft. Even this draft they had today, I didn't think it was bad. They picked like the Diana, which is, I know not a lot of teams are picking it and stuff like that. But they really just didn't. It was the way they played with it was very poor.
Okay, so actually, we'll get to EG because you brought up something really interesting. I hated the Diana pick. How do
you hated it?
Yeah, let's pull up that draft. Tell me how you thought it would, or just like how does it work in this composition?
Okay.
Because it's they're against Ornn, Orianna as the solo laners with Jarvan, Rakan, Ezreal, and then TSM has GP top, Sejuani jungle, Diana mid, and Xayah Nautilus. Because there was some weirdness with not pairing Xayah Rakan, but I like Diana as a pick. I think it's strong. I just didn't see how it worked. Where's the window that it works?
Okay. Oh well, I think one. Oh shit! I actually kind of countered my own point. I do think one part of the draft was really wrong. Was they left up Ezreal. Ezreal Rakan is one of like the only lanes that was left available because I think Kalista was banned, Senna was banned, and Aphelios banned in the first 3. So in the 4-5 bans, you ban Ezreal and you ban something, I don't know, that they're comfortable with, MF maybe, and then that leaves them with like a Varus.
Right.
But Ezreal is going to be the slipperiest, and he's fine matchup into Xayah, so it's kind of like it's hard to punish.
Okay.
And it fits really well with like Ori Ezreal is kind of hard to catch, but. So they go into last pick and they see Ori, Jarvan, Ornn as the top side picks. So automatically I have GP and Sedge, and I'm thinking like Syndra's banned, right? So
yep,
I need to pick something like I don't think I can win team fights. That's what I think is going through their heads.
Oh, they just don't think they can win team fights at all.
Yeah.
So there's nothing we can pick here that'll win a team fight.
Yeah, that's what I'm going off on their brains right now. Is like we can't win a team fight if we're equally skilled, right? I think TSM is a better.
They feel like they should be better.
So
yeah.
So they could have probably matched Ori with a control mage that
like Azir. They hovered Azir.
Weaker.
I feel like they were thinking about it for sure.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. You can just stab that Ornn, but another one where it's just like, I think they wanted to go. All right, well, they have nothing that can match Diana in side lane. We do have the Sejuani. Ideally, this forces the cleanse out of Orianna because Sejuani Diana sounds pretty terrifying. It's a 2v2 against, especially post 6. The weird thing is, the Ezreal Rakan invaded level 1, so they found out Sedge's path. And then Jarvan kind of just dodged her, and I think they did like early dive bot, and Sedge just kind of fell behind, and I never saw any control over mid. So what Immortals ended up doing after they found out where Sedge was, they actually had like full river vision around mid lane, and Ori was just pushing, and Diana never really had a chance to all in because Sedge was, I guess, too scared to go into the river.
And Sedge was 2 levels down on Jarvan. Yeah.
And then Sedge started falling behind on Jarvan. So that was the kind of thing is like I think they just didn't really play it well because the Orianna ended up taking heal. So that sounds like a really free chain CC, right?
Yeah.
I can literally have my Diana E onto her and start autoing to stack my Sejuani passive. And then burn the cleanse through the ult. Like, there's so many ways where Orianna is going to be really pressured as the game goes on, but I never saw them interact at all. And, props to Immortals for keeping up the pressure with, Jarvan and Rakan, where they're actually able to keep the vision around mid. But yeah, that's what I wanted to see those 2v2
No,
mids go
that's cool.
down. And then I wanted to see them, they lost the 2v2s or they won the 2v2s and lost team fights later, but there's no fights at all. And then you're running against this Ornn, Jarvan, Orianna comp, and it's like their comp is so easy. Like that's such an easy composition to play out. And then you have a Diana who's behind now. And so she has to do so much. She has to like find a good flank.
Yeah.
She has to like have the right items to actually kill her.
Uh-huh.
Like there's so many things that TSM had to do later because yeah, I didn't even see an attempt to fight mid, you know?
Yeah, I mean, just to rephrase kind of what you said to make sure we're on the same page is this works as a 2v2, but since Sejuani fell 2 levels behind Jarvan, the 1v1 doesn't work and you're never getting the 2v2. Yeah. So then once that happens, you're never far enough ahead to actually force side lane kills. Because if Dardoch doesn't fall behind on Sej, they actually get a 2v2 kill once Diana's 6 because it's a heal Orianna. That starts the snowball. He can then go to sides and actually threaten Orianna, which he was never able to do at any point in the game because he never got ahead in the first place. And that was just the classic Diana story of you're a melee assassin, you fall behind.
Yeah, so pretty much. Like they needed to something to break the game open because if Diana's just 0-0 and Ori's 0-0, like that's great for Orianna, you know? So they needed some way to get Diana ahead. And I thought the way Bjergsen was playing pretty well the last 2 weeks, and I thought Dardoch was playing well, I was like, all right, I believe in this draft now because of these players. I think, give it to other teams, I probably would say the draft is wrong for them. But for TSM, I thought this was a draft that they could play. Yeah,
thanks. That's a different take than basically everyone just memeing on the Diana pick, which I ended up doing is like, this Diana just doesn't work. I don't know what they're doing.
I mean, in that game, so it couldn't go side ever. Yeah. They never 2v2'd mid. So it was just like A-ramming against an Ori, and then the Ori's just doing better. Yeah. So, it looked useless. It actually was useless that game. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just like hard theory crafting, and it's not like applicable to actual gameplay, but it seems like that pick could have worked if they played it better. Right. And I think, Ezreal was also why I don't like the Ezreal pick was because, if you're planning on picking an assassin with Sejuani, because I assume they had more than just Diana ready to play with Sej.
Aurelion.
Ezreal is going to be a big problem to kill.
Yeah.
For Diana. So I would have if they had Varus, maybe that flank is going to be really easy to find because you can just ER onto him.
All right. That's it for TSM, I think. Inconsistency. Yeah. I like the breakdown we did on their draft. EG is 2-0, 5-game winning streak. We'll continue on that. They actually looked legitimately good this week. So there's also going to be a grain of salt here because everyone beats TL the same way. You know what I mean? We've said 7 times this year that this team played so well against Team Liquid. It's like there was nothing they could do. It's just because Team Liquid doesn't do anything in a lot of these games. So, yes, they beat Team Liquid. Impressive because it was do or die for Team Liquid. Dignitas also has been on fire for a while. Dignitas did beat COG, which broke their losing streak earlier on in the split, but the final game today, where we got to see Jizuke return to Rise, I messed up a little bit. I want to call this out during the cast. I'm like, he's got to add Rise to his champion pool. I meant that. I actually saw that. Yeah, I meant that because he hadn't played it this split. Not that Jizuke doesn't know how to play Rise, because obviously he's played it a ton.
I mean, I thought that's like a really, in my opinion, maybe I'm just too much in the industry.
Okay.
But that's a total normal thing to say. Bjergsen's played Fizz and Echo before, but if he played Fizz and Echo, I'd be like, oh wow, he just got some new champions for his pool. Yeah. Even if you've played it in the past, it doesn't mean you could play it in the meta now with the changes and the other champions. You fall out of skill with champions when you start practicing them. Yeah. Especially in competitive, really quickly.
In the future, it's easy for me to just say add it back because then I'm covered. Yeah. Then I'm set.
And then there's nothing. But pretty much if a player has played a champion more than a month ago, it's not always going to be in his pool anymore.
Yeah. Leesman is the biggest example of this, actually. Your Leesman mechanics, whenever I talk to junglers, if you don't play Leesman on the regular, it's cold when you pick it up and you just int.
That's fair.
But what do you think of the way EG is playing? Is this something that they can continue, or is it just a fact that they played against easy opponents?
No, I think EG's finally figuring out their identity. I think it is a bit of a combination, I guess is a better word, combination of Jizuke being a bit more comfortable and understanding what he should be doing for the team, and then the rest of the team understanding Jizuke. Because it doesn't seem like, wow, they're just individually playing well. It's like they're actually moving around well as a team. And this is my biggest criticism for EG early in the split was at least Sven and Zazal should be moving around the map well and making map plays and have the team fail other things, but at least have good map plays. But they didn't even have that. They just it looked like Sven and Zazal never played together.
Which is weird because Sven and Zazal should be super solid together.
Yeah, on C9 they were great. So I figured this is going to be easiest plug and play jungle support I've ever seen in my life. But it didn't look like that at all. Yeah. But now they're playing well with Jizuke. They're playing around him well. And Sven and Zazal are moving around really well. And I think Kumo's like finally not taking the riskiest trades of his life and dying. So I think he's figuring out like, oh, I don't have to win lane to win our games. So he's like, I think fitting the top lane role a bit better. And then, yeah, the team is actually like fighting well. Like their early game plan looks really solid and stuff. So I don't know. I'm a fan of their drafts. I think they have an identity now. Like if I was playing against them, we need to focus on shutting down Jizuke because he's no longer a liability. He's actually an asset that we need to deal with.
Well, they're actually good at 1-3-1, which is what a lot of the teams haven't been able to do. They don't need to group to win, and they're pulling teams apart frequently. Like C9 and EG in a couple of the games have looked like the only two teams that can extend the gold lead without just winning a team fight. You know what I mean? It didn't happen for C9 this week, but in the two games they played, games EG played this week, they actually just applied a proper 1-3-1. Like the Tom Kench was clean, the Ryze was clean, Kumo wasn't dying as much. If he did die, the team was in a map pressure position where they could take a bunch of positive things, and it wasn't just him dying for nothing. So those deaths are actually completely okay in my book.
For sure.
Where, as long as you're applying pressure in 3 points, when they attack one, you win 2. Sweet. Yeah. I'm pretty positive. What I see now is I see they play C9 next. That's a fun one. That's actually really fun now. I think C9 should get up for that game. You know what I mean? I don't want to see Yasuo Aurelia at a C9 when they play against them, when they play against the players they sold to EG, right? Sven, Skaren, and Zazal. That should be a hype game next week for me. And I think EG is good. I'm not willing to say they're the second best team yet, even if TSM has been so inconsistent, just because. So I'm not completely over my preseason view of what EG was going to be, where I didn't think EG was going to have a problem winning games once they had a lead. I thought they'd have a problem getting a lead. And I'm still not entirely sure how they're getting leads in the first place. I think Bang and Zazal have improved, and Jizuke and Svenskaren have really improved their mid-jungle synergy as the season's progressed, so they're actually getting mid-jungle leads. But I don't know if I've seen enough of that to call it reliable yet. Because if they actually do, become Svenskaren, Niski, C9 levels in mid-jungle synergy, this team's top 2. Or top 3 at least. But until I see more of that, I'm not willing to lock it in.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think I'm partially just very bitter with TSM because, I mean, I really like their team, and I like a lot of their wins. And they're playing slightly different than what other people are doing, so they do have like their own style, so I like that. But then when they have games like today, I mean, it is a best of 1, and I'll always say that in my head, but at the same time, like, but at least look better. Like, you can lose in a best of 1, but don't look like you're actually the worst team. Like, get outplayed in a team fight. Do something like that. Like, mess up a 2v2. But don't just, like, look like a bad team and lose.
Yeah. Moving on. How dead's TL? They have 9 losses. They have 7 wins.
Oh, my God.
They play C9 with the 18th game of the split. I think it's possible for a team to have 10 losses and still make the playoffs, although Immortals beating TSM did not help TSM in their overall quest to make it in here. This is an audio on the podcast, but probably was face palming just now. Like, this team annoys me so much because I am not willing to say they are dead until they are mathematically eliminated, and I still think they have a chance to actually win the whole split. As weirdly as this is, it's a low chance, but I still think it's a chance. I just don't know if they'll make playoffs.
It exists?
I think it exists.
Okay. It exists?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess I'm really... Because I'm trying to search for the answer, right? And one of the answers, and I don't believe this, is Xmithie was the reason TL was good. So this switch out
so you
made them... I'm just
Okay.
Just spitballing. This
Okay.
is something I don't believe.
This is just a theory that you're
This
working
is
through.
a potential answer for why they look so shit. Because they're first of all, their early game doesn't look good. They don't play around bot very well. And I know it's like, Broxa has his own voice, but if Double Lift and Core JJ are as good as I think they are, they should be able to carry any jungler in the world and be like, you should come bot and this time, and we'll get an advantage. Smithy did that very well, and I can't contribute to either Smithy's call or bot lane's call. I assume it was kind of 50-50. But considering I see it 0% now, it makes me like, what the hell? So that's really bothersome because also as the game progresses, I also had Core JJ really high in my heart for a support who's like calling, like really cerebral player.
He came on a TL, immediately won an MVP, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't
playing well in lane.
When I looked at the ballot too, like players almost unanimously said he was the MVP. So like playing against Core JJ was just a nightmare. Yeah.
You'd go watch his VODs and be like, wow, I didn't think to do that.
That's the perfect play.
Yeah. What a great play again. So it's frustrating to watch him because you're just like, damn it, he's right too much, the way like C9's playing right now. Sometimes you're just like, that's a lot of right things. And then I'm like, all right, Core JJ's a cerebral player. He can, you can shot call this team to victory. And then I'm watching their mid game go, and where are they going? They're not going anywhere. And the support can, you can leash your jungler if it's someone who doesn't know anything. You can set up a system as like a bandage system, right? Because they're not in a position where they really have, like, I guess they can go, we're going long-term growth for summer. But if they want to get wins now, because I think making playoffs obviously gives you a best of 5 practice, which is really important. And just, more potential to win. So I think not making playoffs is just too big of a deal to skip for long-term growth.
Yeah.
And I put that in quotes. So I would say, a bandage solution is like, everyone shuts up and listens to Core JJ, and he just solo shot calls her mid game. This is obviously very obnoxious, what I'm saying, but something where you can kind of go off that tangent. So I'm saying I don't think it's the Smithy moving. So the other part of me is like, well, then is the answer just one player's attitude ruin the team? Because I don't want either of these to be the answer. Okay. But I don't know what else could be the problem.
I have something more.
You have another one?
Yeah, I got another theory.
All right, give me some. I need something to bring me up.
Yeah, sure. You're just like, it's either Double Lift being toxic or Smithy being way too good.
I think both those are terrible answers, but I can't figure out what. It can't be that simple.
Listen, I think it can be a little bit of both of those things.
Okay.
I think there's a world that's true. I also think we saw this. We saw this with TSM. I think we've seen this with almost every sports dynasty ever. Winning is hard. Like, winning is a lot harder than people are willing to admit, especially when you do nothing but win. So here's just my theory, I guess. Doublelift was definitely taking Spring Split off for a while, and he thought he'd be able to turn it on, and he actually did. Like, he's switched his switch to on, but it just takes a little while to warm up, like more than a couple weeks, because everyone else has been doing it for months.
Diesel engine. Get it warm first.
It's taken some time. And Core JJ, while making amazing correct decisions, was not piloting Xmithy. I think that's clear. Okay. And I think as far as warming stuff up goes, getting in week 4 is a big disadvantage for Broxa. So we have this team that across the board, I think kind of took winning for granted. Doublelift was the far end of the taking it for granted line, but I think everyone was like, oh yeah, we're Team Liquid, man. We're going to be able to do it. Let's not panic early. And when I looked at the Golden State Warriors last year, I'm not sure if you watched the finals. Anyway, I'll explain it to you. They basically had, their roster is just like super unfair. They had Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, like 4 all-star players, just like unstoppable force. Kevin Durant was injured. They were still great. You're just like, man, this team can carry with everyone. Then like Klay Thompson got hurt. And I'm like, they still might win. And like, I wasn't willing to say that they'd lose until they were actually eliminated. And I still feel that way about TL. So even if they've tried to turn on the switch and it's false started a few times, at this point, I'm willing to say it probably won't happen, but I'm just not willing to say that it will. And my theory is that the team just took winning for granted and thought they'd be able to turn it on, and they can't.
I mean, yeah, discipline is really hard to turn on and off.
Yeah.
But the way that they used to play the game was very predictable, which not taking anything away from them.
Mm-hmm.
But it was very predictable. It was based around dragons. Dragons are now the meta again.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed like, all right, I'm going to see them play this way. And I figured if you told me that they're, at the bottom of the standings, I would have been like, okay, it's because they kept playing the same way, and then they were wrong about the meta, or they're getting outplayed or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not even playing the way they used to. Like, I never see them go bot. I never see them controlling around river.
So, I think you might have hit something there. If Doublelift is coasting, you're going to try to play around different lanes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it was a conscious decision for them to try to find a new way to play, and it just didn't work.
You know what
I
I
mean?
Where's that other way? Because I did not see them go like, all right, we have really good top jungle synergy, or we're going to do top base drafts. I didn't see them do hard mid jungle that much. So it's like, if they abandon bot lane because Doublelift is phoning it in, I at least want to see a strategy out of that. Like, all right, go full top side and Doublelift your farm until team fights, buddy.
Yeah. It looked like a little bit they were trying to do through Jensen, but like this was the Schernfire days, right? Where it was actually just Jensen 1v2ing a lot of the time and just nearly hard carrying games. And then when Broxa came in, I did expect them to become a mid-jungle team, but that just hasn't materialized for some reason. I don't know the answer to that one.
I would be even fine with that.
Yeah.
Right? Like if they did mid-jungle and they were failing at that, like at least I see a style they're trying for, and it's new, so they're not great at it. And yeah, like you said, Brox is coming in late. Attitude issues, a lot of reasons. Like I would have been totally fine with them failing that way, but when they fail by doing nothing, that's what I can't really wrap my head around.
Okay, so I think we've sufficiently cast or cursed them. They play FlyQuest Cloud9. Yeah. What are the chances they 2-0 go 9-9 and make to playoffs? Yeah. Give me a percent.
Play better, because I want to see them more. I mean, like Doublelift is such a good AD carry. He really has been defining bot lane meta in NA for a while. So seeing him not in it means like honestly bot lane meta for NA is worse than it has been because we lost our trendsetter in a way. I'm not saying he has to say the trendsetter, but he needs to compete and push others.
Yeah. I'm surprised he hasn't picked up Callista Lucian stuff. I've been waiting for that to come back. Just Callista Lucian as bot lane picks and playing really aggressive.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't pick Callista this week.
Was it banned? It might have been banned.
I think one game it was banned, but I think one game is up.
Yeah. I think that pretty much does it for LCS this week as we're moving towards the end of the split. Do you have any other thoughts about LCS before we do a quick LEC G2 talk?
I mean, you asked like percentage of TL in playoffs?
Yeah.
Man.
Well, not even in playoffs, because I think it's possible they make it in at 8 and 10.
Oh.
But what is the chances they 2-0 FlyQuest C9? It's got to be low. I'm giving it 20, which might be higher than you're willing to do.
Yeah, I think I'll give them single digits.
Oh, man. That's tough.
Like, I think it's got to be a miracle game for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe at this the lockdown really affects C9, and C9 has like another off performance, and they just make dumb plays, and they built 5 Borks this time. I don't know.
Yeah. I think the most important thing for Team Liquid after this discussion, which I think has somewhat changed my opinion, is picking a style and grinding it for a week. Whether it's mid-jungle and picking really good 2v2s and just, making Core JJ roam more and Doublelift play on their own, or more likely, just pick lane-dominant bot lane. Brox has played with Reckless. He's done plenty of camp bot. Sorry, Reckless.
Reckless.
Yeah, Reckless. I don't know. I cast 5 games.
You guys all call him Reckless in NA?
We call him as a meme, and then it seeps into my head, and it just destroys me. Because I remember casting IPL 5 when everyone did call him Reckless, because it was like his first tournament, and he was 15. And then he just I think he made a Facebook post, be like, "It's Reckless, guys." And me and Devin were like, "Why not just make that your name then, dude? Why do you got to change the pronunciation on us?" Anyway, 7 years later, still in the back of my head, I say Reckless when his name's Reckless. But Brox has played with Reckless before. He knows how to camp bot. 2 games left. Commit to that. Play around dragons. Have Impact play weak side. Put him on Maokai. Let's just go. Let's just do that.
On Maokai.
Please.
Yeah, old school.
I want to see it. Moving on to the other side, LEC. It was an interesting week to follow LEC, but the one thing that I'll double down on is that G2 is still looking pretty good. But the conversation I wanted to have with you is Caps played Ziggs and Talia. And I always like having this conversation, and I think it's good to update it, of when Perks was down there at the start, he played a lot of mages and bridged that as his AD carry skill started ramping up. And by Worlds, he was just playing meta AD carries. But part of me still thinks that mages bot are way better than people give them credit for. It's just the player pool can't play them. So
absolutely.
There's going to be a mix of it, but should everyone be doing this, assuming you have the Omni player with the infinite champ pool, or is this just something that's good because it's caps and he's better at mages than AD carries?
No, I think I think it's good for two reasons. One, it keeps the game a bit like more fun for the players because they have a bigger pool. There's like some flexibility. They even have some more like say in the draft because they're like, oh no, give me Syndra. You know, you get the counter pick. I'll play Syndra. It's great here. You know, so there's a lot more like onus on the players. Actually, can take more responsibility, and I think they enjoy that kind of stuff. So I think it has a lot of good reasons. I think in draft it's a really big advantage, and just I think the only reason it doesn't happen is because I think the AD carry players are very bad at mages and team fights. I see it super often with like Syndra where they're ulting really poor targets, ulting too early, stuff like that. I mean, I don't know. I guess as a mid laner, you learn like patience a lot more than AD carry maybe, where you like, Syndra Ori ball out for like 30 seconds and do no damage, but you zone the whole team. So maybe the AD carries just aren't comfortable with this like idea. So it's really weird to see these like AD carries doing like maximum DPS on a mage, but to the wrong target instead of like holding their power to actually make a play.
I mean, it makes sense with the training of an AD carry, right? It's just uptime, hit highest threat that's closest. And that's just like the brain.
So I think maybe that's why the trigger just doesn't work in their brains well. But yeah, I think the mage's bot is insane. If you look at these G2 drafts, it's so hard for the other team to even communicate what to do because there's so many possibilities of where the champion's going. And we're seeing it now a little bit like, I was really happy that C9 played the Syndra bot, and I think we saw one other team play Syndra bot. I can't remember.
Yeah, C9 played it and Dignitas played it. We saw Johnson on it.
So, it just throws a wrench in the draft because Syndra's a good pick mid, and the counters to Syndra, if you pick them, Syndra will go bot, and then you counter that. So it's almost like you can pick this champion, Syndra, who has counters, but you basically block all of her counters by having the flexibility to put Syndra bot. So that's why I'm super in love with the flex. I think it's just really hard for players to pull off.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at G2 versus Rogue, they first pick Pantheon, and then they go Talia. And you're like, okay, it could be a Pantheon jungle with a Talia mid. It could be a Pantheon mid with a Talia jungle. It could be Pantheon Talia bot. It could be, it's like, no, it's
Pantheon
Talia
top.
Yeah, actually, it's Talia Thresh bot, and it's Pantheon jungle, and it's just, it gives them the infinite flexibility when G2 is at their best. And it is a little bit strange to me because I think in my head, when G2 went to Worlds and mostly just played Xayah Kai'Sa with perks, I'm like, oh, maybe this thing was all just like a hype beast because they have the player that can do mages and they just decided to play 80 carries when the stakes were the biggest. I think that was more a function of just Xayah and Kai'Sa being so damn strong at the time that it actually pushed mages out. But I think I'm still of the opinion that G2 should do more of this. And I don't think it stunts their long-term growth that much, since I do think it's still an evolution of how you play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, your point about Xayah and Kai'Sa, they were just absolutely too strong at Worlds, so it didn't make sense to really flex.
Yeah.
But now we're in a meta where, like, I don't know, there's like 5 or 6 viable AD carries, like, after the Philios nerfs, so it's not, like, super, super oppressive.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that Perks got really lucky with was when he was making the switch, it was very he had already spent a split playing Xayah Kai'Sa mid during Funnel, and they played Funnel like every game. So this is my theory on why Perks AD carry like looked okay for a while, and then he had some bad games obviously, then went to mages, and then eventually started playing AD carries well.
Yeah.
So I think he got a pretty easy transition, other than like compared to Caps, who's like Senna and Ophelio spot. Go play them now. It's like this guy's never these brand new champions, like really weird AD carry styles, and he's playing a new role. So I think he had a lot more to learn than Perks did, and he had no previous practice to like back it up. So I think he's had a lot rougher of a time with his transition. But now I see they're more comfortable putting Mage's bot again, and I think this is the best road for them going forward, and I would like to see it more too.
Yeah, they're in control of their own destiny. If they 2-0, they get the number 1 seed over in the LEC as they move towards their playoffs as well. All right, thanks for joining me, pr0lly. Thanks everyone else for listening. You can always find JLXP on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify. We try and release Monday morning, 6 a.m., and then going to be doing one other episode this week with Keen after he does 10 Thoughts, which I believe is still happening. We'll have to double check on that, but pr0lly, thanks for joining us. See you next time.